The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 1991 to Aung San Suu Kyi of Myanmar, Burma, for her non-violent struggle for democracy and human rights. She became the leader of a democratic opposition which employs non-violent means to resist a regime characterized by brutality.
What I'm doing is what a lot of people in Burma would like me to do. It's just that they can't do it for themselves. So I feel that I've got a lot of people behind me and that I'm just representing them. I did not feel that my innate freedom had been taken away from me, because I could still continue to think the way I did, and I was in no way persuaded to change my views on what freedom meant. Music has played an important role all along, but mainly as a way of connecting me to my family, to friends. I'm of course very fond of Mozart, and I'm fond of Vivaldi and Scarlatti, but it's got a lot to do with the fact that Michael was very fond of them. In the same way, I enjoyed modern music because I know that my sons enjoy them. And also, apart from the fact that my younger son tried to educate me with regard to modern music, he also taught me to play the guitar a little bit. Just a few chords, very painful it was. I think I'd like to be able to sit down with a lot of very, very happy young people and to know that I had something to do with their happiness.
I think the choice of Aung San Suu Kyi as the director for the 2011 festival is absolutely inspired. I feel so excited by it. I think it challenges the whole idea about what art festivals are about dialogue to me, about discussion, about the big ideas, and the idea of having Aung San Suu Kyi, who is just this symbol of freedom, of liberation, of tolerance, all of those sorts of values that I think Brighton as a city espouses. That to me is just such a perfect match. I think it's really exciting.
Beethoven's Fidelio, written very shortly after the events in the French Revolution on which it was actually based, became, in the 20th century, it was almost adopted as a symbol, a talisman, by oppressed people who had survived. It's not a vast political canvas, it's essentially a domestic rescue drama. It's the struggle, the successful struggle of one woman against a corrupt state. The play on which it was based has enormous historical and political significance. Jean-Nicolas Bouillet, who wrote it, was a lawyer and a playwright in pre-revolutionary France. It's an amazing cast that the Brighton Festival's assembled. Janice Watson will be singing Leonora, one of the toughest roles in that fach. She has to be plausible as a boy. And one has to know long before the other characters do that she is in fact Floristan's wife. Judging that balance, particularly with where the role lies, is an extraordinary feat. And she's probably the best singer in the world for that role, I'd say, at the moment.
We're thrilled to be bringing back our production of the New World Order to Brighton Town Hall. We were commissioned by the festival in 2007, and it was a great adventure for us then, creating this piece of work. So I think the play and the subject that the play talks about fits in very well with this year's festival, which is to do with freedom of speech and human rights, and particularly in this case about the torture of political prisoners, which is what the play deals with.
Forbidden! 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 Jesus Christ! Does she understand what I'm saying? Don't you?
I can also use both at the same time, like this. I can do absolutely anything I like.
The unequivocal voice of someone like Pinter in these plays, pointing out the inhumanity, and that it is wrong, quite simply. It is wrong and ineffective to torture people. That voice really needs to be heard now. So I think that's become even stronger.
People may be familiar either with the real thing or have seen the kind of thing of the debating chamber and the public spaces of the Brighton Town Hall. And then the journey goes on and it goes down through the building and it gets a little bit darker and a little bit more scary and a little bit more intimate as we go into the bowels of the building and depths of the Brighton Town Hall. And that's why we're very pleased to find this particular venue to do this play in.
You enter the space and it's very, very dim with a low light on a book. And in that book there are 750 words on each of the women, just really saying what happened to them. And then in front of you is a doorway. There's a pulsing light on the door. You put your hand on that pulse, and when you do one of the women in videos, it's an interactive work, she steps forward and she places her hand on your hand. It's about a moment of video touch. But when you're in this environment with these women and that's all you've got to focus on, you become very, very sensitive to what they're saying to you through their gesture and through their eyes. And I think that's why it's powerful emotionally.
I think that Monsters and Prodigies will be very accessible for the UK audiences. These shows have been presented all around the world, and also it's very physical and musical. El Gallo is an opera for actors, composed by Paul Barker in an invented language. This language is the synthesis of all the languages that the interpreters use in the process, because they are from different parts of the world. We are very excited to come to Brighton, because it's the first time that these shows will be presented in this country.
I was only 14 years old when I first was forced to flee from Burma. It was in eastern Burma where we were attacked by Burmese army troops. They attacked us with air bombs, air strikes, and each time the bombs dropped on the ground would shake, and as children, we were just so terrified. Burma is ruled by one of the world's most brutal dictatorships. It kills, it imprisons, it tortures, harasses anyone who speaks out for democracy, for human rights and for freedom. We have another part of Burma, like where I come from, that is an ethnic area, where we've been physically attacked by the Burmese army troops, where the dictatorship used the policy of rape as a weapon of war, and their soldiers rape girls as young as 5 years old, where they use people as slaves, and hundreds of thousands of people are used as forced labor. In the Brighton Festival, I will be participating in a panel where I will be talking about the future of Burma and how I want Burma to be like. The second event is about my book. I have written an autobiography. It's called Little Daughter, and I called it Little Daughter because that was how both my parents called me, and in Karen it was Pomusit, and in English it is Little Daughter. Brighton Festival give me hope because I know that people who come and participate in this festival, many of them, they care about international issue, they care about human rights, and they care about Burma. That's why we need everyone's help to help us to achieve our dream for future Burma.